Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark, and this is Spiguyver Backpacking. Today, it's a little bit chilly. It's been raining off and on. It's been raining a lot here lately. Last weekend I was at Maha. It rained most of the time I was there. It's rained most of the week. Didn't rain during the morning yesterday, but then it started last night, and it's just kind of been raining since. So I've got the rain jacket on, and I'm ready in case it starts coming down. Hopefully it holds off so that we can do this video. I looked at the radar, looks like we should be clear. So what we're out here today is to talk about something that's in my pack. So let me drop this day pack, pull out what we're gonna talk about, and let's start talking about it. Let's go. All right, so in this bag right here, I have an entire hammock setup, including my tree straps. So this little zippered bag here actually works really well to hold it all in. Nice zipper, lengthwise. It's got poles in here. It's got everything I need. So what is this? Well, you guys who have been watching the channel recently know that I have switched over and have been using a Bridge Hammock for a while. Started out with the Banyan. I've tested the Ridge Runner, went back to the Banyan. The revised Banyan came out, liked that. Had an experimental one that I was using for a little while, and then I found the Townsend Luxury UL, which is a little bit wider. For those of you who don't know, I have had 4 shoulder surgeries, probably need a shoulder replacement sometime in the not so distant future, and it has led me away from gathered end hammocks. The shoulder squeeze that you get in a gathered end hammock, the way it pulls up around you, I just can't sleep comfortably anymore, and so I have found that I do a lot better in a Bridge hammock. And so Townsend, been using the Luxury UL. Well, this is a new one that they've got. Now, before we get too far into this, I do want to state, just put this up front, that this was sent to me as a gift. Bill sent this because of all the work that I've done, putting together other videos, and the people that have come to him because of my videos. Now, the Townsend Luxury UL that I use, I purchased that with my own money. It was not sent to me, it wasn't a test item, it was something that I purchased with my own money. But as a result of the business that had come from all of the people that had watched my videos, as a thank you, this was sent to me. So it was free. I did not pay for this. And actually, I don't know that any of these have been sold yet. It's kind of a work in progress, but I think that he has nailed down the design, and that is what this is right here. Okay, so what we have right here is a new bridge from Townsend called Just a Bridge. And it's a pretty simple design. It is meant to kind of be in the same category as like a Banyan and a Ridge Runner. It's not quite as elaborate and as big as the big guy bridge or the Luxury UL or the Happy Medium. This is kind of the entry level. It's got a 1.2 ounce ripstop fabric. I think it's a Mountain UL, so it's 1.2. The placement of the poles is specific to this one. So if you've looked at the Luxury UL that I've got, or the big guy, the poles are actually in a little bit. It's a longer bridge, and a lot of people don't like where the pole placement is, but this one puts the poles actually out at the ends, and so it changes things just a little bit and makes it a little bit more entry-level friendly for a lot of different reasons. But let's talk about some of the specs of it. All right, so this bridge is about 7.5 to 8 feet long. It was hard to get a really good measurement, but it's somewhere in that range. It's a little bit longer than the Ridge Runner and the Banyan. And because of that, if you wanted to use a quilt on here, you can use a standard quilt. You could also use a pad if you wanted. Pad makes this a pretty versatile setup that we'll talk about in a minute. But if you're going to use something like a Warbonnet Ridge Runner specific underquilt, or the Loco Libre Ridge Reaper that I've got, you probably want to add about a 2-inch to 3-inch additional loop of shock cord at the end. I put it at the foot end. For me, that's You know, I usually tend to be more towards the head end, and so a little bit of gap at the foot end is cool. So that's how I have it set up. Now, if you use a regular, like a long underquilt, it's gonna cover the whole thing. A sleeping pad will fit in there and cover the whole thing, but that's kind of how I have mine set up. So about 7.5 to 8 feet long, 3 feet wide, both the head and the foot end. The poles are exactly the same on either side. These are Easton DAC poles. Let's talk about weight. So with this 1.2, the body with the suspension, not the actual tree straps, but the suspension, the ridge line, everything that's on here, it is about 6 ounces, maybe just a tad over 6 ounces. The poles are 7 to 8 ounces. You can go lighter if you go with the carbon upgrade. You could go $50 higher, go with carbon poles, and that's going to drop it about 3 to 4 ounces. So pretty significant drop there. Or if you were to utilize the Harmony poles, which are trekking poles that Bill sells, they come from Rotolacura. Those can actually drop it so you're only adding about 3 ounces, which when you take a 6 ounce body, you add 3 ounces for that, you end up at about a 9 ounce hammock setup, which is really good. As it sits, mine on the scale is 467 grams, translates over to exactly 1 pound. So this is a 1 pound bridge hammock setup. Now notice that it doesn't have a bug net. Now Bill does offer 2 different types of net setups that can go on here. Both of them are external, kind of go over the top of everything, including the suspension. And one is a bottom entry that has the cinch style shock cord draw at the bottom. A lot of people don't like that, so he has also now come up with a zippered one. I've been using that with my luxury UL quite a bit and really like it. It's got like a full bottom to it. It's almost like a tent bottom, tent floor. And so like I was saying, if you were using a pad in here, if you were going on a trip where you wanted to hang, but you weren't sure that there was gonna be good hanging spots the whole way, this hammock with that bug net that has the zippers and the tent floor with a pad would be great, because when you get the chance to hang, you can hang no issue. And if you have to go to the ground, you've got the tent floor that's in there, plus you've already got your pad, you hang it between your 2 trekking poles, all is good. Or if you have one small tree. If you have a tree, or even 2 trees, but the trees are too small, they're just like saplings, you could set it up on the ground and do it that way. But I'm not a ground guy. That's not why I have this. So let's lay in here and take a look at what we got going on. Of course, like any other hammock, I'm popping my shoes off. Yes, when I set it up, I laid down in it with my shoes on, but that was just to make sure it was in the right spot, because I might have needed to get out and redo things. So let's lay in it. So the reason that I said I would put the loops on the foot end is that I want, because of my shoulder issues, I want to scoot as far to the head end as possible. See, I've still got a little bit of room there. I can back up even more, get my shoulders closer to where it's widest. Now, if I'm towards the center, it's gonna be a lot more like a gathered end, just because of the shape of this, where my shoulders are pulled up, and I can already feel that's not comfortable on this left shoulder. So, if I slide myself back as far as I possibly can, now my shoulders are much wider. Now it's not anywhere near as wide as like my Townsend luxury UL. That one is an incredible hammock, but it's also nearly twice the price of this. So you definitely have to pay to play. But getting in here, arms up over my head, no issue. It is very comfortable. It's not nearly as deep as the Banyan or the Ridge Runner. So you're kind of sitting up on top. And if you get a pad in here, it's going to be even more up on top. But I do feel like this is much less tippy feeling than some of the other bridges that I've used. But a lot of people don't get the bridge just to lay on their back. The greatest part about a bridge is the fact that you can lay usually on your side extremely well. And this shape really helps to kind of lock you in. Move down a little bit and it really cradles you, and it gives you room to put your arm up above. You know, a lot of times that's the tricky part, is where do you put your arms? And so on your side, you can kind of lay down a little bit further, get a little bit more like fetal position. It's a comfortable, flatter type of lay here, but you can really get in there and find that comfy spot. Switch sides, no issue. I can't really lay on my left side all that well. Bringing my arm up overhead does not feel good. That is not the spot that I lay. But just like the luxury UL, I can, I'm getting dizzy from all this swinging, but I can go ahead and spin around. Get out of my stomach. Like on my luxury UL, there is that dip way up at the top that I can get my arms into. I will say, of all the positions that I have tried, laying on my stomach in here is probably the best. With this not being as long as my luxury UL, the one part that I do have some issues with my luxury UL is in the winter. So in the winter time, even though I've got full-size quilts, the full-size quilts only cover about 3/4 of that hammock. So if I slide way to the foot end to really bring my head up, my feet are hanging off of the quilt. And if I move all the way to the end, or I lay on my stomach and put my arms under my pillow, my arms get cold because they're not covered by the quilt. So I would either have to get an extremely long, probably longer than a long quilt in order to cover it, or what I've done in the past is I use like a foam sit pad and put it under my arms when I'm laying on my stomach. But that's the beauty of this one, is that it's not that long that a regular quilt doesn't cover it. And so I don't get outside of the range of the quilt. And so at winter time, actually having this smaller setup works a little bit better, surprisingly. You would think that the bigger, heavier one would be more versatile for the winter, but actually what I like is that you can go wintertime, I don't need the bug net, I don't need to get the bugs to stay off, and so I can go with a really light package. I'm already carrying heavier quilts than I would during the summertime. So anywhere that you can shave weight and stay comfortable, I think that it's a great mix. And so that's where this one really does work for me, is it is a, because it is lightweight, you know, a pound for a nice bridge hammock that, you know, you can pull up into camp, sit down, have a nice place to sit. Actually sitting in this is extremely comfortable, just like this. Now I do have this loop here, which if you put it on the downward side, it actually takes some of that tension off of behind your legs and actually lets it sit a little bit more chair-like, which is nice. So this is used for a chair mod. Put it on the end, all good. But this is great for like those quick trips. You know, if you're trying to go ultra light and still want to do bridge, this one's gonna fit that bill. If you're looking to get in a little bit cheaper than something like the luxury UL, big guy, happy medium, then again, this is gonna fit the bill. So what does this thing cost? So like I said, the way that I've got this right now with the Easton DAC poles, you know, it's right at a pound. You could be under a pound if you spent $50 more for the carbon poles. Those are Rotolacura poles. But it's $225 for the setup that I've got here. It's right in the range of what everything else is. It's a little bit lighter than the other hammocks that are on the market. There are, you know, those trade-offs. Some of the other hammocks have, you know, the zip-in bug nets. Some of them don't. You know, if you look, there is a wide variety of bridge hammocks that are out there from different vendors. You've got Jacks Are Better, you've got Dutchware Gear, you've got War Bonnet, and then there are some other ones out there that people have told me about, but really I've been struggling to justify buying any additional ones, any other ones, since the ones that I've been trying from Townsend and going back to even the Banyan just work. They just work. But this not having like a zip-in net, some people will find that as a disadvantage, because a full net is going to kind of negate the weight savings that you have from this here. But Bill did tell me that he is working on a version of this with a zip-in net, so I'd be interested to see kind of where that comes in and how it works. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys this. Bill was not expecting me to do a video on this. He did not ask me to do a video on this. Like I said, he sent this one to me as a gift. Was hoping that it would be something that I could use for those lighter AT trips, just getting out, doing something. I don't know that he expected that I was gonna find that winter is where I think this thing shines, when you don't need a bug net and your underquilt actually covers the whole thing, so that whatever position you're in, you're covered. That's where I think that this one shines. While I like using the, I've got a 30-degree Loco Libre Ridge Reaper that fits on this really well with these loops that I added on the end. Really, I laid out here with my 0-degree hammock gear, overlofted ones on here, and they cover the entire thing, and it was just really, really nice to have that full coverage on here. So no matter where I was good. But if you guys are interested, you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. I enjoy getting out, trying these things. You guys may have seen this in a couple of my trip videos. I've done several overnights in it, and I sleep really well in it. But it's definitely not my luxury UL. That one is just head and shoulders above everything else I've ever tried. But if you are like me and you start having shoulder issues, the shoulder squeeze isn't working for you, give some of these bridges a try. You know, you may not find the one that works exactly for you the first try, but keep trying. Don't give up. Something like the luxury UL, the big guy hammock, may be exactly what you're looking for. And if you work with some of these vendors, they'll do tweaks, make them exactly what you need. So don't give up. Don't give up. There is a hammock out there for you. All right, guys, appreciate you checking this out. I will see you guys down the trail.